Thank you for coming down. And it's a school night, so you're not offending us if you have to go at this time. Otherwise, you can stick around and watch the rest of the proceedings. Thank you for coming down and letting us recognize you. All right, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Rodriguez, do I have some other speaker cards down there? Okay. Oh, okay, on 1701. All right, board members, we have 3 speakers on agenda item 5.02, which is on the teacher retention bonus. First of all is Stephanie Guitar. Ms. Guitar, welcome. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. Of course, yeah, I have 3 speakers, Stephanie Guitar, Ms. Cara Yuli, and then Ms. Diana Moore. Hi, Diana. Welcome.
You. That would help us immensely. We're part 1 and part 2, so we're doing a little on the fly.
Okay, and before I get admonished by legal, I've been forgetting to say, please start with your name and address.
Sure. Cara Yuli, 9504 Lake Douglas Place. Yeah. First, I would like to sincerely thank all of you for your leadership and recognize your service to our community. We're not here to speak against the teacher retention bonus, but to add that we believe there are other things that could be done at the district level to vastly increase retention and teacher satisfaction, as well as the education climate for our community as a whole. So I'd like to share my thoughts from the perspective of parents. I spent the first 2 years of my children's grade school education in the dark about how the whole thing worked, despite having gone to public school all my life. I thought that teachers did whatever was needed in the classroom, that PTA was solely for fundraising, and that all communication and directives came from the top down. As they say, ignorance is bliss. After Parkland, I started to question the role and goals of our public school system. I thought a lot about the value of social-emotional learning and how it's pushed aside in favor of test scores and academic rigor. I wondered, at the end of the day, to whom should the school system be accountable? This year's school board election has shown us that parents, teachers, and voters at large are ready for change in our district. The couple of themes that I've heard are to rebuild the trust and partnership between parents, teachers, and administrators, to focus on social-emotional learning, and to restore autonomy to teachers. So first, to rebuild the trust. It seems like the silos of parents, teachers, and administration are intentionally kept separate. To integrate them would require more communication and possibly major changes in the way that education is delivered. Teachers aren't able to be honest and open with parents about the demands placed on them by administration because it would be perceived as oppositional. For this reason, many parents have no idea what's involved in doing the work of teaching. Second, to focus on social-emotional learning. I think that as parents, many of us get sucked into the idea that test scores and A ratings indicate the best schools. Families move to neighborhoods specifically for the A-rated schools. Parents seek out high schools with lots of AP and honors courses. But as a friend of mine said, I got my kindergarten son's report card and I saw his grades for math and ELA. But where's the info on if he's sharing and getting along with his peers? We've become so laser focused on grades and achievement that we're missing the point. Our first job as a community should be to raise good humans. I'll take a school that nurtures my child's spirit over one that improves his test grades any day of the week. Furthermore, an increasing body of evidence shows that academic achievement closely follows a strong social-emotional foundation. I've heard repeatedly that guidance counselors and support staff get bogged down with administrative tasks and don't have adequate time to spend on either guiding or counseling. We've spent millions of dollars on educational software, which incidentally has no research to support that it creates learning gains. What if we took those millions and instead spent them on staff that could provide the individualized support that kids need in order to thrive? I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie.
My name's Stephanie Guitar, and it's 10228 Stratford Point Avenue. And to continue with the last point, to restore teacher autonomy. Teachers are professionals and they should be afforded the autonomy that is given to other professionals. I've had young teachers tell me time and time again that they went to school to become an educator because they wanted to leave a lasting impact on young minds. Many tell me that they have been inspired by their own parents or teachers from their childhood. They enter the field excited about all these great innovative ideas they've learned in college. Then they get to the classroom and it's nothing like they expected. There's data to collect and tests to administer, but there isn't much time for nurturing students and addressing individual needs. There isn't time to get to know students deeply and recognize their hurts and fears before they turn into something bigger. That wounds and disillusions teachers enough that they're simply walking away from their profession. In closing, teachers aren't going into the business of teaching to make money. They do it because they want to grow kids' souls, expand their horizons, and enable each child to see his or her own potential. How can they do that if they're constantly being asked to do more administrative work, attend more meetings, document more data? In the process of evaluating and monitoring our kids' education, we've taken the human aspect out completely. Many teachers are also being encouraged or perhaps required to use standardized curriculum at standardized times of the day. The standardization leaves little time to capture the moments so many of us remember from our own education, stopping to observe a caterpillar outside, throwing an impromptu play to further integrate learning concepts, or perhaps reading a much-loved novel to young readers. I think back on my time in graduate school when we learned about innovations like New York City's full-service schools and Boston's school choice program. Some recent Googling confirmed that innovation in education is still alive and well. We just need to work as a team to do what's best for our children. All it takes is true partnership between parents, educators, and administration. My hope is that our newly elected leadership hears this message as a resounding call that accountability should be to the parents, the students, and the teachers. I always tell my children not to come to me with a problem without also having some solutions in mind. So with that said, a few suggestions on where to start include to hold truly anonymous listening sessions with parents, teachers, and students. These should be broad in scope, but then should dive deeper into those issues that seem to come up again and again. Don't write them off. There's no shame in exploring why something isn't working or how it could become better. That's how we learn, right? Start thinking about what limitations are truly placed on our district by federal or state mandates, and then figure out how to innovate within those broad confines. Research innovation in other school districts and evaluate whether those concepts can be applied locally. Consider reallocation of resources to high return on investment areas. This should be based on evidence-based and best practices. Thank you for your time. We hope that this is just the first of many conversations about how we can improve our schools. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing, for our students to be challenged and supported so that they can reach their greatest potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Guitar and Ms. Yuli. Ms. Moore.
Good afternoon. Diana Moore, 8301 Buena Vista Woods Boulevard, here speaking to the agenda item. I'd like to stand before you and deliver some news from your friends in Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County just passed their referendum, and I don't know if you heard about what they decided to do with it. This was just on Tuesday. They decided that they would give a retention bonus to teachers who are in their 1st through 5th year of $1,000. 6 through 10 years, they're going to get $5,000 each, and any teachers that have 10+ years are going to get $10,000 each. I wanted to bring that up because they just passed it, and it hasn't even come in yet, but they have given the promise to their teachers for 4 years. 4 years that they're going to do that. Now, Orange County passed a 1 mil 8 years ago with the promise that they would retain highly qualified teachers. It's right on the flyer that's passed out to all of our taxpayers and citizens who voted on it. And I attended a presentation recently by Mr. Scott Howitt, where he stated that the amount of money that was coming in from the 1 mil was less than $20 million. Well, I wrote and got the public records request, and it was actually over $32 million we brought in last year in the 1 mil revenue. In 1 year. So that's because our property values have gone up. So I would like to ask the board, and I know there's going to be some transition here, to consider looking at upping that bonus or adding it to salaries for the teachers if you truly want to retain them. Now, on the board docs, you have listed that this bonus is not only going to teachers, it's going to administrators, classified personnel, food service managers, and technical folks. And what I want to say is, I think that is absolutely great that you are rewarding all employees. But it does not work to give the teachers a message that you value us and want to retain teachers in our profession when you give everyone the same amount. And so I asked for you to look at this bonus, return to the bargaining table, and talk to each other and to the community members, and maybe do, as several of our teachers have asked, put out a survey, talk to teachers about what's going on, because there was a comment made at the last school board meeting when the letter that was written by one of our teachers in the back made it to the Washington Post. There was a comment made that she's just 1 out of 13,000 teachers. And I know that that did not send a message to our teachers that they were valued, their input was valued, and so there are several teachers here today standing in the back in silence because of that comment. There are several teachers that feel the way she does. She has resigned and moved on to another county, and today in my school, a kindergarten teacher announced that because she's not getting paid for her master's degree, she's leaving to go back to New Jersey. There are a lot of these stories that are going on in the news, and there are a lot of them that are going on in Orange County. I just hope that you will consider looking at the message that's sent from that dais and from the bargaining that happens each time we go to the table. Thank you. You should have a copy over there that I sent you, and you have it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.